Hey guys, so today we are answering a subscriber question, and the question in question was, Frederick, how much do you worry when you have to ship heavy features and the deadline is very close? So let's get into it. Well, this is a really good question. I will tell you first and foremost my personal answer, and that is that I don't worry, not a lot. It's very rare that you have the sort of feature that is going to completely make or break something, even though your product owner, or if your product manager, pretty much always acts as if it's the end of the world every time something is kind of on a sharp deadline, because that's their job basically. But for me, I don't worry all that much, but I will give you just, we need to have some context here as well, because not worrying about this stuff comes from a fair bit of personal security and also a bit of seniority or more experience. It comes with experience basically, because in the beginning of things you're going to shit your pants. I promise you, you will. Most juniors will. You shit your pants over absolutely everything, and especially if there's a sharp deadline and you have a complicated problem and your stakeholders really emphasize how important it is that we get this right and it needs to work, because otherwise the whole company will go under. That sort of pressure on a junior is tough. It's really tough. And when I first started out, I was in this situation quite a few times at my first job, and it was, without overstating too much, I would say that it was easily a year of pure purgatory for me. I don't know how I get to this day. I still don't know how I got through it, because the pressure was that there was that level of pressure almost all the time. And as a junior, that is a lot. It's a lot of stress, because you have the added stress of not really knowing how to build things. You don't really know how to do things in a correct way. So you second guess yourself. You wonder, am I making the right decisions? Will this work? Will it not work? You have all these unknowns. But after a while of working, you get to this point, like it's a similar thing that I've said in the past. So when you're fresh, when you're starting out from kind of scratch, everything is a linear progression. You learn new things every single day, and you never really have a chance of repeating something. But at some point, you're going to be asked to build the same thing again, and then you loop on that thing. And the more senior you get, the more experienced you get, the more you just keep on looping over the same things until you pretty much don't progress as fast, like towards wherever you're going. You simply spin on the same sort of feature request that you built in the past. And with that comes a sensation of security. You get very comfortable in estimating how much work something is, and you know the ways that you can build something. Because one of the stresses that at least for me in the beginning, was that you don't really know the best way of building something, or you don't really know how to efficiently solve a problem when there's a heavy feature, or like if it's a sharp deadline, right? So you don't really know how to solve these problems. But when you kind of know, okay, these are all the ways that I can solve this problem, then it's very easy for you to identify whether or not this is a feasible deadline or not. Because this is the big lie that quite a lot of juniors don't really understand, and that is that the success of a project, it's not just down to how good you are at coding. You can get a deadline that comes in today that states that by tomorrow you should have built X, Y, and Z, and there is no way for you to build that in that time. It's almost impossible, and that is the business world works in a very optimistic, usually, way. People sign deals from a very optimistic viewpoint, almost always, because that is what is required for them to actually sign a contract. Programmers usually work from a more pessimistic or realistic viewpoint, because we are the sorry fuckers who actually have to build the thing that the business people promise to our customers. And when you're ultimately responsible for that, it gets to be a little bit, well, you have a different viewpoint. It usually only comes back to a salesperson when they are directly responsible for delivering on a project, but usually that's not how it works. The only time I've ever seen a business person be really truly embarrassed is when we fail to meet a deadline and they have to go like crawl to the cross and explain to their important customer why all their promises were just bullshit. But apart from that happening, they usually promise quite a lot of things. And for us, I mean, it's the complete opposite. Our job is to as accurately estimate how much work something is. So unless you are clued in and people consult you on how much work it is and how long you're going to need before you can build it, and you can accurately answer that, everything is pretty much a guess. So if you're lucky, you have people who give you enough time to actually build things in the way that is needed. If you don't, you can only really do the best you can. And when you realize that that's the way things work, you kind of, at least I did, I started relaxing quite a lot more because, I mean, I can't change the state of the application. The code is what the code is, and the feature request is what the feature request is. So unless I can make a false I've told many product owners this. I can give you a false promise. I can tell you all the things that you want to hear. Yeah, we're going to do it, and it's going to be perfect, and it's going to be amazing. Or I can give you the reality of the situation. And usually, what you do in such a situation is that you come up with a set of requirements or scope, like a scope of what's going to be delivered. You cut features, or you kind of try to figure out a way to still deliver on your promises, even though the deadline is very sharp or you might be behind schedule or something like that. You figure out a way to accommodate whatever is needed in order to meet that deadline. It always kind of works out, unless, as I said, it falls through. And if it falls through, the personal security aspect comes in, and you just have to realize that it's very rarely that something falls through because, like, only because you are a bad programmer. Although that's how you're going to feel in the beginning. When you get a little bit more experience, you will realize that there's quite a lot of people that could have affected the outcome of the project. So what I want you to take away from this is that me personally, after a while of working, I don't feel especially stressed over heavy feature requirements because I've done this for enough time now that I know how to build most of the things that people request. As a junior, it's going to be different, and you're very likely going to feel quite a lot of stress. But all I can tell you is that if you have a set of heavy requirements and a very sharp deadline and you're scared that you're not going to meet it, you need to communicate that, and you need to be upfront about that with your stakeholders, because there's quite a lot of things that can happen that gives you a chance of feeling secure in that you're going to be able to deliver. Because trust me when I say this, if you tell your stakeholders that, well, we're unsure if we're going to be able to meet this exact deadline, often they will say, okay, that's not ideal. We should okay, then maybe we need to delay it by a week, or how much extra time will you need? They're not going to be happy about it, but at least you will have some more time to do this. And if they just say, oh no, that's not possible, we need it by this time, then the problem is theirs. Then the problem is completely on their side, because then they have created an estimation without consulting their developers, and now they can just sit there. Like, you can do the best you can and try to say, okay, we can partially deliver this and we can kind of do this, but the work is what the work is. And as I've said, you are not in control of the state of the code, and you're not in control of the feature request. All you can do is to put in the work that is needed in order to deliver on this. So hopefully this mitigates a little bit of the stress that you will feel, because trust me when I say this, the success of a project is not just due to how good you are as a developer. There's a lot of factors that goes into whether or not you're going to meet a deadline. Have a great day.